The meeting of Shreveport City Council has now been called to order. We will have an invocation by Reverend Edward Davis, the Mount Moriah Baptist Church, and Councilman Bradford will lead us with the pledge of allegiance.
Let us pray. Our Lord and God, we come today to give you all the praise, all the glory, all the honor. We thank you, God, for the meeting today, Heavenly Father. We ask, God, you bless all those who are assembled today, Heavenly Father, and keep us on one accord. This we ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Let's face the flag and let's appropriate salute. Let's repeat together. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you call the roll, please?
Councilman Bradford.
Present.
Councilman Everson.
Here.
Councilman Beasley. Councilman Corbin.
Present.
Councilman Jordan.
Present.
Councilwoman Rich. And Councilman Gold.
Here. I'm already entertaining. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes of the previous administrative conference. Giving up. Does any council member have any awards, recognitions, or distinguished guests they'd like to introduce at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I have two guests I would like to present and have come up and make some remarks regarding the situation that I shared with them and visit with them on. First, I have Ms. Julie Bass, who is the CPO of Goodwill Industry, as well as Lynn Stevens, who is the Executive Director of United Way. Ladies, you can come together, you can come separately. Hello, Julie.
Hi.
There you are.
Well, I think I'm going to start this spiel.
Lynn, grab that mic right there. There you go.
Thank you. So today, is it on? Okay, there. Today, myself and some of my colleagues in the Social Service Department is here to ask for a letter of support from you guys. The city is going to play an important piece into something that we're trying to put together collaboratively for our community. So what we're working on is through the Justice Reform Act that Governor Edwards signed in 2017, we have about 775 individuals coming back to Caddo Parish and specifically into the city that's going to be released early during 2019. And so the state has made it available up to a $500,000 grant to apply for, and so to put together a reentry plan for these individuals. And so I'm going to turn it over to Julie. She's going to give you some statistics. Goodwill Industry has been really running the reentry coalition that has existed in our community for about 18 years. And we're working not only with these guys, but I also have Volunteers of America here who's going to be helping us with the housing portion of the grant. And then Easter Seals will be providing all of the case management, which is the most critical piece for these people coming back into our community.
All right. This is exciting that the DOC, the Department of Corrections, is rolling down with the money. It's exciting that Caddo Parish is being considered one of the parishes that are eligible to apply. So with our community partners, we are proposing to serve high risk, high need, and medium risk, high need individuals that are coming back to our parish. We are expecting about 775 individuals to meet that criteria out of about 2,500 that register with probation and parole annually. So that's quite a need there. So in our proposal, we're going to try to serve 200 of those individuals coming back. We're targeting, based off a needs assessment that the Northwest Louisiana Reentry Coalition did this past year, housing, employment, legal services, and transportation were the top needs, along with health, and that includes mental and addiction help. So we're targeting those areas. We're doing that through an evidence-based practice of case management, so that we get a task force together. And we want to meet them prior to release, and we want to work with their families and the inmates so that when they were released, we have a plan, we have people in place to do that. We're working on a transitional employment piece so they can go straight to work while we find a job for them, because we all know employment keeps people busy, it puts money in pockets, and reduces crime. Right now, currently, about 50 or 55% of those are expected to return to jail for recidivism. So we want to curve that, and we do not want them to go back. We want them to stay out, become productive members of society, and we believe that we have the pieces in place to make a difference and reduce recidivism. So we're asking for y'all's support today in this grant that we write, that we're going to turn into the state, and to know that it's a community effort.
Well, thank you, ladies, very kindly, and I surely appreciate you taking the initiative and the lead in this. And it appears that you have pretty much created a coalition of nonprofits that can take a piece of this initiative and move and prepare for the release of these prisoners that are going to be coming in. Is there a risk you feel or see in us receiving, you said around 770 be coming this way?
It's about 700 that qualify. Probation and parole gets around about 2,500 new people annually that they keep on their roll. So and the pipeline data that the DOC gave us to apply for this grant, so there's 775 that meet that criteria, that high risk, moderate risk, and high need, which means homelessness and poor work history, mental health issues. They're going to have a lot of needs.
And you track them into the proper service that they need.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see any competition as regards to the grant is $500,000? For how long? How long is it?
It's 1 year at a time, up to 3 years.
Oh, it's to be renewed every year.
Mm-hmm, for 3 years.
But I saw a glimpse of it when I visited with you, and it looked like a very strong proposal with all the right components.
We hope so. We have a lot of community partners on board, and we seem to have a lot of support just within the community about it. I mean, everybody wants crime to, we don't, nobody wants the crime. We want less recidivism. We want people to live productive lives.
Is there any concerns you have? Taking the lead, and that's what you do. I'm proud of Goodwill Industry as well as United Way. But are there any extra concerns that you have with the release of these parolees?
You mean extra concern as in providing the services, or
are they going to be mandated to engage you, or how do you reach out to them?
It is optional for them to engage, but we're hoping with the housing vouchers and the transportation vouchers and everything, a lot of these inmates, they can't get out unless they have a place to go and they have a plan. So we'll be part of that plan. And we plan on working with the local probation and parole office and the local jail, Caddo Correctional Center. We plan on working with them so that when an inmate is fixing to get out, and not all inmates are housed in our parish prior to release, so some may just show up at probation and parole and say, hello, I need help, so we're going to be there to offer that. So, there is if you don't have something in place when they get out, and so we plan to have it in place so they can call us on the phone and we can and once the grants are awarded, the DOC will communicate that. So our plan is to engage them prior to release. Up to 20% of the funds can be used prior to release. And so we want to start this 90 days before they get out. So when they hit Shreveport, they've got someone to check in on them, they got somewhere to go, they have all their questions answered, they have a roof over their head. We're going to put some welfare funds in just to pay some fines and buying something to fill their refrigerator and some of those things that I think right away, it's really hard to get started back with your life again when you've been taken out of your life. So we want to provide some of those things so they can get started again. Having a job and having somewhere to go is a big deal because you get door slammed after door slammed after door slammed. I mean, it's so easy just to turn around and go back to doing what you were doing in the first place. So our goal is to just steer them to give them options to take a different path.
The council is aware that clerk and his staff prepared a letter for us to consider to sign, and you want it to be a part of your package when you
Yes,
make
that
your
would be
application.
awesome. Yes, sir.
So I'm trusting that the council saw that.
Okay. Councilman Ellison had a
Okay.
question.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate y'all coming to tell us about this. It does sound like a big opportunity, and would love to know. And I'm going to ask a few questions. Don't feel like you're on the spot and have to answer them all right now. I want to learn more so I know how to be prepared for and answer questions and share information about it. But as we talk about these kind of things, I think there's a lot of misinformation about prisoner release programs and reentry programs and that kind of thing, just as a nature of the fact that there's just not a lot of consistent information out there for the public. So in that respect, like how many parolees came back to the area this year versus what would be like? Is this program going to attract people that would not otherwise be coming back to this area, or these are people who were coming
They
here
were.
already? And I think I understand that. I'm just saying for the benefit of the public, that's going to be something we want to make sure is expressed. And then a question I don't know the answer to, but and there may not be an answer yet, but is there? So I hear you're talking about like maybe a temporary kind of employment as they find permanent employment, and then is that the same with housing? Are they going to be in sort of a transitional housing situation as they look for permanent? And the follow-up to that is like, how do you link transportation to it? Because that's got to be a big issue, right?
It's a huge issue.
Yeah.
To answer your question, the offenders we're planning to enroll are those already scheduled to return to our parish. There were 5 parishes eligible that they plan on working with. They're the top 5 most incarcerated parishes in the state. Caddo's the second. So we got plenty to pick from. So they're going to send them to us that were already coming, whether this program existed or not. As far as housing, we have set up some emergency bed shelters with different housing entities. I know that we're working with the BOA on the housing piece and several other nonprofits in town that have beds for emergency housing. We plan to use a rapid rehousing model to house them.
Okay.
Where you pay rent, utilities piece, and you kind of scale down through the months.
Got it.
So we will follow them for 6
But
months.
it'll follow that same sort of process that is used like through the continuum of care for the homelessness and that kind of thing. So it's the
Yes,
same
sir.
sort of good.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
As far-
I just wanted to kind of like make sure that we're not, because this does sound like this could be a sizable enough population to sort of shift patterns if we're not careful about following the same methods that we have in
Right.
place.
It's evidence-based practice.
Great.
The case management, housing, and everything's evidence-based practice. So we're following that. To answer your transportation question, we're going to develop a partnership with cab vouchers to get them to move them around. We're going to utilize the city bus system, as well as we're looking at inspection stickers and driver's license fines and car insurance, because sometimes it's just those, maybe a $200 fine because when you got picked up and taken to jail, you left your car somewhere or something. You let your insurance lapse. So we're looking at that. That's all included in transportation, because sometimes there's easy fixes. What are easy to us maybe are super complicated to a person just getting out.
Sure. Well, great.
So-
Thank you very much. It's an interesting program. I look forward to hearing more about it.
It's exciting.
Just so you know, we're not duplicating anything or starting anything new. We are actually using all existing services here because we think that's super important.
That is.
Just
Thank
trying to
you for mentioning
expand on
that.
what we already have. And our community is, I've been working on the state level with reentry for several years now, on the reentry coalitions. And what our community has is great. We all get along, which in so many other areas in the state, they don't. And when this coalition when the grant came out, or when we start working with the Northwest Louisiana Reentry Coalition on different things, I mean, everybody was just, I'm here whether you have money or not, just let me help.
Work together one way or
Yeah,
another.
so I feel,
It has been helpful in other,
Yeah.
when you see an alignment of resources. We have a lot of great nonprofits. Sometimes they unfortunately work alongside or against each other. Not against, but sometimes competing resources for similar results. And so it's great to hear that y'all are aligning that early and paying careful attention to that. Thank you all so much.
Mayor Tyler had
Hello, how are you?
I'm good,
I
how are
too
you?
want to commend you and Goodwill Industries for what you're doing. I just have a couple of questions. The 770 plus that you spoke about, are they all Shreveport or are they Caddo Parish?
They're Caddo Parish, and that's
Caddo
how
Parish, okay.
that's how Department of Correction will classify them. The bulk of them will
Probably
be
in Shreveport. And I guess I just have 2 or 3 questions because we need to know. So will some of these be citizens that already have homes with their families? Do we have any details of that nature yet?
Some of them will have homes, just because
Yes.
some of them are going to return to their parents' house, and then some of them are going to get kicked out a month later, because that's what's happened.
That's what
happens.
That's
You
the
get an
usual
address, so
pattern,
you can
okay.
get out. You go home. Mama can only take so much, and boots them out. So
Okay. Okay.
we do plan on that afterwards. Some of them are going to come out homeless. Some of them will not have anywhere to go, so we'll be working with the state on that, because they want you to have an address to be released to, and it's a good address, not a made-up address, so we're going to be working on that. So we expect to have, right now, we got a rough estimate from the Housing Authority, who took a loose poll of around 10% that just really say there's nowhere to go. But the estimate for those that come back once they're out and then turn up homeless is greater than that.
Okay. And so my last question is for the surrounding parishes that have those citizens that will be released to them. Do you know whether or not they are receiving any help, or will they send them over here to Shreveport and Caddo Parish?
Well, the Department of Corrections will not send them over, because the way the Department of Corrections is looking at this is they're taking it tier by tier. And Caddo is a Tier 1 parish, along with four other ones: Orleans, Jefferson, East Baton Rouge, and St. Tammany are all Tier 1s. That means they're the 5 most incarcerated parishes in the state. Tier 2, which Bossier Parish is one, will be eligible for grant funds next year, and they plan on adding that in addition, and so to target Bossier Parish.
Okay.
So
I'm
they
just
should
trying
not
to see
send them.
what will happen to those that will be released to our neighboring parishes.
Yeah, they will not be eligible for this grant. These people eligible for this grant have to be returning to Caddo Parish specifically.
And they do have Caddo Parish addresses.
Yes, they have to have Caddo Parish addresses. They cannot
Okay.
come back to Bossier or DeSoto and then decide they want to move to Caddo.
Okay.
They have to have a returning home to Caddo.
Thank you.
And if they do, they have to register with probation and parole, so we'll know if and they have to approve that address change.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. Councilman Bradford?
Yeah, and finally, I want to be clear that these parolees will be released regardless if you get the grant or not, or
Yes, sir.
or what percentage of the $500,000 you get. So you're trying to be proactive, and you're alerting the city and the parish to be prepared, and I think this is a great opportunity for us to work together to receive and to address these needs that will be coming forward. Thank you, ladies, for coming
Thank
down.
you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have Mrs. Sharon Johnson, who would like to come up and make a presentation on behalf of the Roosevelt Collins Celebrity Hometown Weekend.
Good afternoon, Council. Mayor Tyler. I'm Sharon Johnson. I'm the coordinator for the Roosevelt Collins Hometown Celebrity Weekend. We do a football camp here in the city of Shreveport where we bring in former NFL players to come in and mentor and do training for our kids. This year, our camp was held at Independence Stadium, where we had over 200 kids there. We had 16 former NFL players to come to Shreveport. Some were from the area, Lifford Hobley, Roosevelt Collins, and Wendell Davis. Some were from the outskirts of Shreveport, but all of these young men who have gone out to make their careers in the NFL, they wanted to come back home and help our kids. So I would like to say on behalf of Roosevelt Collins and Lifford Hobley, who is the current president of the NFL Players Association, Dallas chapter. Just wanted to thank you, and I have a presentation for our mayor. So, Mayor Tyler, would you please come forward, please? Mayor, on behalf of Roosevelt Collins, Lifford Hobley, and all of the NFL players who are members of the NFL Alumni Association, we just wanted to say thank you to you and to the City of Shreveport for supporting us. When you start a new venture, sometimes it's difficult to get it up and running, but for the last 2 years, we've been, just successful. So on behalf of myself and my team, I would like to say thank you, and we look forward to your continued success, and we look forward to your continued support. So
Thank you so much. Ms.
Thank you
Johnson.
so much.
Y'all look this way. Matt, can you throw that ball?
No.
Great. And if I may, I want to thank Ms. Johnson for the commitment. We met out at Independence Stadium, I guess, that weekend, about 4 hours in 100-degree weather. But we went out to say thank you to all of those men who came back to Shreveport to actually work with our young people. And it was very, very, very touching. And, of course, we spent about 3 hours in the sun, but it was very touching. And I just want to say thank you so much for all that you do for the young people in the city of Shreveport. Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Over here, man. Over here.
He's husband.
Uh-oh.
My athletic gear on today.
I see.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson, for all you do, ma'am. Mayor Tyler, do you have any awards or recognitions that you'd like to present?
I don't have any today. I will have some tomorrow, but I do have some people for appointments to boards and commissions today, whenever you allow me to do that.
If they're here, let's do it now.
Yes, sir, I believe they are. Thank you, sir. Today we have 4 different individuals who will be appointed to various boards pending the confirmation, of the council. The first one we have is Dr. Edward Davis, who did our prayer today. If you will come up, Dr. Davis, he is being appointed to the Housing Authority of Shreveport, and we're awfully blessed to be able to have him to come and serve in this capacity. He is filling a vacant seat. We did send resumes to each of the council members. Dr. Davis, if you would like to just introduce yourself and tell us whatever you'd like to.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Mayor Tyler. To the council, let me thank Mayor Tyler for the appointment today. Let me thank the council for your consideration. And I'm just happy to be here at this particular time.
Okay.
If there's any questions, anything, Mr. Carpenter?
Pastor Davis, good to see you. I know you're the pastor of Mount Moriah,
Yes, sir.
and your experiences in this area. What can you elaborate on some of them, and what would you like to see happen within the housing authority? Is there any particular goals you have for that?
Yes, sir. One goal I'd like to see that the low-income family receive more affordable housing. I'd like to see more policing around the areas. I would like to try and get more involved with helping young men and women find a better way of life in Shreveport.
Okay. Well, those are some goals that we all share, and I think with board members like you and others, I think we can go and work toward those ends. I appreciate you offering yourself for this service.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for offering your service, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Councilman Everson.
I'll just say briefly, the new director, well, I say he's new, he's been there 3 years now, but the new director over there at the Housing Authority has been a really dynamic kind of breath of fresh air there. He's been doing some really good work, so I think you're going to find that's an active board with a lot of good things going on. It's an exciting organization to kind of see them go from a little bit of a slower period where they weren't
Yes, sir.
doing as much to they seem to be very active now. So appreciate your willingness to serve, and hope that you, before we do a final vote or anything, I hope you have time to kind of visit with the director and just get a little feel for what, kind of things they're going to be looking at doing over there, because
Yes, sir.
It's a good organization that's, really, I think it's a good time to be part of that organization. So
I sure will. Yes, sir. Thank you.
And if I may, just
Yes, ma'am.
to allude to something that Councilman Efferson has said, Dr. Davis is already working in that area, and he already knows Mr. Collins. Mr. Collins is doing a phenomenal job.
Yes.
But he's been doing a lot of volunteer work in the
great.
community, so that's how we got to know him.
Well, I certainly
And
have
so
seen him
he-
around quite a bit.
Yes,
and
sir.
I know very
Yes,
much
yes.
that
So
you've
he's,
been,
he-
heart for service already.
Absolutely. He's been doing a lot of volunteer work with the various groups in that community. Of course, his church is right there, next to the Cora Allen housing. And of course, because of his labor of love voluntarily, he has, I think, a great grasp of what this authority does already, and has been working with those folks.
It's a very
So I
appropriate.
want you to know that.
He already cares about the area where they've got a lot
Thank
of
you, sir.
things
Yes.
coming up soon. So I mean, it's an appropriate fit for you. And if I recall, didn't Mount Moriah hosted a meeting a few
Yes,
months
sir.
back for
Yes, sir. Corey Allen.
for the Choice Neighborhoods?
Yes, sir. Choice
kind of
Neighborhood
Planning initiative
Community.
or something. It was a community meeting. It was well
Yes, sir.
attended, and appreciated
Absolutely.
that y'all hosting that.
Okay. Any other questions?
That's it.
Thank you, Dr. Davis.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next appointee for the Housing Authority is Ms. Darlene Meadows. Ms. Meadows, can you please come up for just a minute? Thank you so much. Ms. Meadows, of course, is going to be replacing Ms. Donna Samuels, who served on the authority as a representative of the residents, and that's what Ms. Meadows will be doing.
Hello, Mayor Tyler. How you doing today? How you doing, Council?
Hello.
Okay.
My name is Darlene Meadows. I live at 3418 Valley View Drive in Shreveport, Louisiana.
All right. Any questions for Ms. Meadows?
Well, certainly, like Reverend Davis, what was your goals or desire to serve on the Housing Authority? Was there any particular reason that you felt you could contribute to this board?
Yes, sir. I am a resident of the Shreveport Housing Authority. I am on housing, and I can relate to the people in the area and stuff. Yes, sir.
So you're a tenant in public housing?
Yes, sir.
Oh, that's a good thing.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, appreciate your willingness to serve and be a part of it.
Yes, sir, and I
Absolutely.
appreciate them.
We thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions for Ms. Meadows?
She just answered it.
Thank you, Ms.
Okay.
Meadows, for
Thank
your
you. Y'all have a
willingness to
great day.
serve. Absolutely. All right. And our next two members are nominated and elected by and from the regular employees of the fire and police departments. Of course, we have two of the firemen today, and I'm not sure if they're here, but Fire Captain, okay, they're not here. Michael Colvert, Senior, and Fire Engineer Alafoba,
Olufalabo Ogunyemi.
whatever. The name is, and let me just spell it for you, Olufolabo, and the last name is Ogunyemi. All right, so
They just call him Olu.
Olu, all right.
Yeah.
That'll do it.
Yes,
All right, so those are the two that were elected by the membership. That's how that membership, the law gives them the right to select and send to me, and I simply bring it to the council for confirmation. All right, thank you so much, and those are the four, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
And that's it from the mayor?
Sir,
That's it from the mayor?
that's it, thank you.
Mr. Green has already stood up. Does anyone have anything for Mr. Green? Probably standing. Seeing none, I can just speak to you afterwards if that's fine. 1 minute. Mr. Crawford, we already have a election plan from you.
Yes.
The same from Mr. Bradford.
No, you'll get it tomorrow morning. Ordinarily, we send them out. I receive them Monday morning from the city court. My normal person that's over that there is not there today. She'll be back tomorrow morning. She'll send it to me tomorrow morning. I'll have it to you before the council meeting tomorrow morning.
Thank you, sir. We have no public hearing today. Mr. Crawford, will there be any legislation added tomorrow?
Not that I'm aware of, Mr. Chairman.
Don't have anyone to speak. No executive appointments today. There are no items for consent agenda. Mr. Crawford, let's continue with items to be adopted.
Items to be adopted under consent agenda legislation. Resolution 100 is a resolution rejecting bids for IFB 18043 annual battery bid for the city of Shreveport.
No questions or anything about that? No discussion? Mr. Crawford, please continue.
Will do. Under regular agenda legislation, resolutions on second reading and final passage are which require only one reading. Resolution 97 authorizes the mayor to execute and accept an act of donation between the City of Shreveport and WIVI Land Development, LLC, hereinafter called owner and acting herein through David M. Alexander, manager for the water and sewer main extension and related facilities to serve Lucian Fields Estates Phase 1, Unit B. Resolution 98 authorizes a facility servitude for the purposes of locating or constructing a facility across, in, over, or under city-owned property at the future site of the field operations and customer service for the Department of Water and Sewer, located at 5226 Monkhouse Drive and 5122 Hollywood Avenue, and to authorize the mayor to execute said facility servitude with Network Communications. And Resolution 101 declaring a public emergency in connection with an emergency replacement of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana club-level roof located at Independence Stadium and ratifying the expenditures of approximately $228,600. This roof was damaged in the spring tornadoes that hit Queensboro, and it was further damaged beyond repair when the straight line winds of July 29th.
Mr. Crawford.
Yes, sir.
Insurance didn't cover it?
We're waiting on the insurance, and we can't wait anymore. We've got to get in there and make the repairs to the roof, and Shelley can speak to it if the mayor wants to bring her up, but we're waiting on some of the insurance proceeds, but we can't wait for them to come in before we make the necessary repairs, or it's going to cause further damage to the structure.
So we got some severe leaking?
We will get some reimbursement from the insurance.
Okay, but the leaking is that severe?
It would have been if we wouldn't have tarped it off in time, but we've had it tarped off in time, and now we're going to go back in and make the full-time repairs.
Okay, and I can appreciate the explanation, but when I first saw that, I was thinking about all the times that we categorize in our budget. What is it? Needs, wants.
Sure, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
That wasn't one of them.
That couldn't fit in that category.
Well, the tornado, the roof was fine before the tornado, and then the straight line winds did the rest of it. And we were actually going to be able to make some repairs to the existing roof after the tornado, but when the straight line winds hit it on July 29th, it has to be completely replaced now.
So once this is done, then
we're good to go. And we've got, this is not coming out of general fund. It's not coming out of any other street or anything like that. This is money that was set aside when this council and mayor refunded the Independence Stadium bond money, I believe in 16.
Yes,
and so we have the money for this that can only be dedicated toward Independence Stadium. So we're using some of those proceeds.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, Brian just answered the question, and that was how I understood it from the resolution. And I think, I may have another question just about the timing of things later, but generally, there's a lot of information in that resolution that generally answered what I was going to ask.
And we'll be glad to answer any questions.
Absolutely.
It was really significant for us to get it done. We can only spend the money at Independence Stadium anyway, but because of all of the storms that are continuing to come.
And it sounds like a timing thing.
It is. It was. We needed to take care of it immediately. And I appreciate your consideration of the ratification.
All right. Mr. Crawford, would you please?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Introduction of resolutions not to be adopted prior to August 28th, 2018. Resolution 102 authorizes the mayor to make application to the U.S. Department of Justice for the 2018 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant. This is a law enforcement grant between Shreveport Police and the Caddo Parish Sheriff's Office for $123,039, with SPD garnering 52% of that, or $64,600, and Caddo Parish Sheriff's with 47%, or about $58,500. Resolution 103 acknowledging that the city Council has reviewed the 2018 Internal Municipal Water Pollution Prevention Report concerning the North Regional and Lucas wastewater treatment plants. Resolution 104 authorizes the mayor to accept a grant fund of approximately $24,214,284 and to execute the fiscal year 2017 Choice Neighborhoods Implementation Grant Agreement between the United States Department of Housing and Urban Development, HUD, and the City of Shreveport, Louisiana, and the Housing Authority of the City of Shreveport, and to provide with respect thereto.
Any discussion on that? Seeing none, Mr. Crawford.
Moving along in record time. Introduction of ordinances not to be adopted prior to August the 28th, 2018. Ordinance 66 amends the 2018 Community Development Special Revenue Fund. This is to appropriate $920,500 in new grant funding that community development has received in 3 specific areas. Ordinance 67 is to revise certain provisions in Chapter 78 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to facility permits for use of city public right-of-way. Ordinance 68, zoning case number C-39-18, is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the north side of Arrow Drive, approximately 330 feet west of Fullerton Street, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from I-2 Heavy Industrial District to C-4 Heavy Commercial District. Ordinance 69 is also a zoning case. This is C-40-18. This is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the southwest corner of West 70th Street and Canal Boulevard, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from C2 Corridor Commercial District to C3 General Commercial District. Zoning case, Ordinance 70 is zoning case C-42-18. This is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the west side of Mansfield Road, approximately 600 feet north of Hollywood Avenue, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from C2 Corridor Commercial District to I-1 Light Industrial District. Ordinance number 71 is a zoning case C-43-18. This is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the northwest corner of Emily Boulevard and Sentinel Street, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from OR Office Research District to R17 Single Family Residential District to C2 Corridor Commercial District. And Ordinance 72 amends various articles and sections in the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Unified Development Code.
Discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Crawford.
These are ordinances on second reading and final passage. Ordinance 58 amends sections of Article 7 of Chapter 90, Traffic and Vehicles of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to broken meters, overtime parking, and permit parking. Ordinance number 61 amends and reenacts certain provisions of Chapter 10 of the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Code of Ordinances relative to the alcohol permits. Ordinance 62 amends various articles and sections in the City of Shreveport, Louisiana Unified Development Code. Ordinance 63 is a zoning case C-31-18. This is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located at 1842 Barton Drive, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from I-2 Heavy Industrial District to C3 General Commercial District. Ordinance 64 is zoning case C-32-18. This is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the east side of Esplanade Avenue, 2,770 feet north of Greenwood Road, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from OS and R17 Open Space and Single Family Residential District to C-UV PUD Urban Village Commercial District with Planned Unit Development. And then Ordinance 65 is zoning case number C-34-18. This is an ordinance to amend the official zoning map of the City of Shreveport Unified Development Code by rezoning property located on the east side of Wallace Lake Road, approximately 2,400 feet north of Southern Loop, Shreveport, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from R2 PUD Multifamily Residential District with Planned Unit Development to R2 PUD Multifamily Residential District with Planned Unit Development.
Okay. On number 64, I'd like to speak to Mr. Sweeney if I could, please.
Yes, sir.
Okay. On 60 toward, are you seeing anything as far as I'm trying to open up some streets relative to the
east side of, like the back streets that come off of, what's that, Murtis and Claiborne on down.
They're not, are you asking, are they trying to open up?
Trying to,
I'm not showing that that's the case, no. They're trying to improve the street system within the project, and that's kind of the first phase of the project is the infrastructure, and to build the main spine zone or road that comes through the middle of the development.
I didn't see nothing, but I had a couple of phone calls that asked about opening those streets back up into the neighborhood off that back side. So.
Right, and I don't show at this, based upon the plans that they've submitted, that they're trying to make any new connections to any other roads at this point in time.
And relative to the homes that are potentially be built there with that, is there a specific square foot size of those?
Well, we can't dictate the size of square footage because that's against the Fair Housing Act. But basically, what the applicant has indicated, this is in a series of phases that will include townhouses, apartments, and then there will be single-family homes on what I call fairly sizable or average-size lots, and then there's a section that is for larger lot single-family homes. So the price range is going to vary.
Starting at 120?
I think it starts around 120, 150,000, and then we'll go on up to a higher level after that.
Councilman Bradford, did you have a question?
No, we met with some residents, Mr. Chairman, and they voiced some concerns, but I think we tried to, as best we could, address those concerns. But these are phases, and by rezoning, I mean, they would still have to get building permits to move forward on some of these.
Absolutely.
Some of these things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What you're seeing today, or what you'll see tomorrow, is the preliminary site plan with the plan unit development.
Right.
If you approve that as recommended by the MPC board,
Sure.
they have to come back and provide a detailed site plan for each one of those phases.
Right.
Now, they can do multiple phases in one site plan, but they have to get the site plan approval for the final details, and that would be done administratively at the MPC office.
And that's one of the things that the chairman and I try to relate to those residents. We got two different sets of residents. We got some saying let's go. We got some saying we don't want this.
Right.
And I told them if it meets the criteria of the zone, then they still would have to have some more hurdles to cross. And we are adamant. Listen, that property has been vacant, and my expression to them was that we got to find something to say yes to. We can't say no to everything. And I see this as a very positive aspect. Now, we did tell them to give us some ideas of what would be in the power of the MPC or the City Council to put some restrictions on some of those things, and hopefully we can meet back with them and get those things done. But overall, we thought it was a good
Yes.
project with the potential of being a very positive influence in developing that area.
I would say this represents one of the best examples of infill development in an established neighborhood area of Shreveport that I have seen since I have been here.
Whoa. Okay.
And it is an example of how you want to reinvest in established areas of our community, which we are so much wanting to have happen, that this is a great example of what could be done, not only here, but throughout the inner city of Shreveport. And I think it's a great opportunity. I mean, I think that's why my board was very supportive of it.
Right.
And I think once you see all the parts and the moving pieces of this project and what it could mean, and it'll take a while for it to be developed out. It's like anything else. There has to be a cash flow, a certain amount of revenue gained off the project to make it successful. But the ultimate plan, as it all comes together, will accomplish something that the master plan has been asking for, that the people approved and wanted back in 2011. This is fulfillment of some of those things that they've been looking for.
And I agree. I see great potential in this, and somebody want to come in and do a $200 million investment
Right.
development. And don't ask the city for no funding, man, that's a good thing. So,
This is true. This is true.
And I know, and we told the residents as well that, your commission had the opportunity to vet it, to do them, to do the research, and like I say, they voted, overwhelmingly to move forward with this, and I'm excited. My Curtis Lane separates me from them, so I told them I'm also a neighbor to them, but we'll see. But I hope the council consider it very strongly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, sir, for your service.
You're more than welcome.
My question's about a little bit, so you can go ahead with yours.
Okay, on the if it's already zoned for the housing aspect part of it, so when you go into commercial, and let's just say, for instance, this is one of the questions from the citizens around there, what happens if this does not come into fruition, and then that's still zoned for commercial if this is voted to go that way, and do you go back, or if someone else comes in that can go directly into the commercial aspect, or how does it go?
Chris, now remember this. The urban village, which you've never seen zoned before, is meant to be a multi-use zoning. It allows for housing, commercial, entertainment, all kinds of things, recreational. It's meant to be kind of a perfect blend of creating a master plan community. That's the idea. So that's what this zoning is. Understand that this preliminary site plan, that if you approve it tomorrow, it holds for 2 years. The zoning stays, but the preliminary site plan will go away if there's not development or a site plan approved on this property within that 2-year period of time. So in other words, they have to at least do 1 or 2 phases or so of the preliminary site plan as a final site plan in order to make it to hold for the entire property. Now let's say they don't develop the property. They let the 2 years expire. The plan goes away, but the zoning stays in place. But the new owner, or even them, if they decide to keep the property, cannot move forward with that project without resubmitting a new preliminary plan to the MPC board and then forwarding it on to you guys for final approval. So it locks them in. Literally, in talking to those neighbors, the preliminary site plan locks them into a design or a setup that they can't really vary from. They can vary from it a little bit because I have some flexibility within the ordinance to vary certain things when they get down on the ground and know that certain things are different. But it has to stay true to the design and layout that you approve. If they want to venture away from that, they have to come back to you to get your approval. And so the neighbors would all get re-notified again, so that there's no way they can come in one day and do one thing and tomorrow do something different. So that's the beauty of the Unified Development Code, is that it locks in the development with the preliminary site plan. But if that goes away, they got to come back and give you a whole new plan for your approval.
But you said that it would still be rezoned.
Yeah, the zoning holds.
Okay, right.
Right.
What falls, just can you give me like 3 different things that fall up under that particular commercial zoning?
Okay, so it's meant to be very pedestrian oriented. So it could be anything from the design of a shop. It could be a shopping area. It could be a restaurant area. It could be designed as a housing, different types of housing. It could have housing where you have the retail below and the shops and the housing above, like a loft design if you want to. But all of that would have to come back before you for final design. The design that they're showing you now is the one they have to build. Okay. And if they choose not to build it, they're going to have to come back to you for a revision to that. Which they can't, for example, one day it can't be apartments, and the next day all of a sudden they decide, no, we're going to put in a strip center. They can't do it that way. They have to come back and get the approval of the plan. The zoning holds, but the plan can change based on your approval. That's the mechanism that holds it in place.
Okay.
Now, this is a broader-based zoning, but because this is more of a broader-based type of project, because it's not just strict zoning for housing and strict zoning for commercial, it's a mix, because if you look at the market today, the developments that are most interesting to most people and people are attracted to are the ones with a variety of different uses in a very well-planned context. And that's what they're trying to do. Plus, they're going to maintain 9 holes of the golf course and use that as a recreational component. So it's kind of a win-win scenario for the community, because if you look at where all the commercial area is, it's located far away from the residences. It's in the center core in the lower half of the project. The areas that are adjacent to the residences are all residential. So that's kind of the benefit of how the planner, the designer, was looking at how they could buffer, along with the green space that's along the edges. All of that will be
And it's
maintained.
about directly in the center. So in your years of expertise in this, have you ever seen a hotel and this type of development go in the dead center of a neighborhood like that? Or
Yes, when it's and this is a real prevalent thing today. There is a real trend, as you may or may not know, the number of golf courses across the United States has been on the decline. That's been a major industry shift. People just don't golf as much. And so they're taking these old golf courses, these old country clubs, and this is happening all across the United States, and reinventing them. And part of that is to create a recreational component where you preserve part of the golf course and put in like a resort hotel or entertainment venue there that brings people from outside to want to come into the facility. And so that is a common component you'll find in a lot of redos of these abandoned or no longer utilized golf courses and country clubs. It's an exciting idea that really creates a lot of activity for cities that are wanting to see new activity occurring within their, especially in the inner city areas of the community.
Councilman Bradford?
You remember, Mr. Chairman, that was one of the concerns that we expressed, that this is a vision, an idea, a concept, and with some stipulations that protects them. And I told them, we told them that it's a issue of supply and demand. If the demand for this hotel is not there, then they can come back and repurpose that piece of the property.
That's correct.
And they were like, people just going to wander off I-20 and come way over there. And we said, well, I don't think it's going to happen like that.
Right.
But if they can design the recreational piece that will demand that small hotel, then that's all for the good.
That's right.
And including in that, if I looked at the restructuring of the flow, that the entryway would come off of North Lake Shore. Is that right?
And then of course Esplanade comes. Yeah. And yes, and so you're actually coming in at an angle there that is like I said earlier, it's you're not generating additional traffic along the edges, and the flow is in and out through that main portal, as one might say, and then off to Lake Shore. Yes.
So between the MPC and the council, we can continually to monitor and supervise how that construction
that is true.
move forward.
That is true. Absolutely.
Okay. Well, again, I thought the MPC did a great job, and I know you got a lot of inquiries and feedback from that proposal. Again, we deal with two different mindsets of what could be utilized there. But I think if we be patient, because we're talking about a 10-year development that could alter through that process.
True.
And but I think any time somebody wants to invest there, at least we got to give it consideration.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
thank you, Mr. Swing.
Councilman Fuller?
Ordinance 65, this is just kind of a housekeeping note. I think the city attorney recognized this at the same time that I did. Our to and from zoning appears to be the same thing.
It's from the prior UD's, Chapter 106. It was zoned multi-district or residential district plan unit development. This ordinance will rezone it under the current UDC.
That's correct. And you got to remember, just FYI, because it's the ordinance that lists out the stipulations of the project, the only way we could get the stipulations to be put into law was to rezone it to the same zoning designation, but like you've said, under the new code. Okay. So that's why it looks a little funny, but it actually works legally and will work effectively.
Okay, perfect. Thanks.
Mr. Thompson, is there any table legislation to be removed today?
Not that I know of, Mr. Chairman.
All right. There are no appeals today. Nothing for tomorrow. Any reports from any officer, board, or committee?
Mr. Chairman, we had our public safety meeting today and looking to have another one sometime in September.
And you do have a property standards meeting coming up.
Yeah, proper standards will be coming up
Okay.
in the month.
And then just as a reminder, we do have the B4 committee meeting tomorrow. That's where we're going to be looking at, if you'll recall, Councilman Corbin had suggested that we take a look at that parking ordinance that's up for a vote tomorrow. So that's what we're reviewing. 2 o'clock.
2 o'clock.
And that's the only thing on our agenda other than just setting an upcoming meeting. So,
Councilman Bradford?
No, my comment is going to be additional comments at the end, Mr. Chairman.
All right. And Mr. Thompson, is there a clerk's report?
You've already been introduced to the people that the mayor has appointed,
All right. And
including Mr. Oguya.
okay, so back to you, Mr. Bradford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I have 2 questions and a comment, and I'm going to express my comment first. In all due respect to this being political season, and social media seems to be on fire, I just wish that our residents and voters would be more informed instead of just being opinionated. Things are being expressed that is so misguided. Be informed, community. Please be informed on what you are addressing in the commentaries that are being expressed through social media. Call City Hall, call the council, call somebody and get the facts of something before you just start to pass comment on things that are so misguided. So my question, Mr. Chairman, is, and I'm sorry I missed Mr. Floyd, the public safety meeting was today. Okay. All right. I'm sorry I missed that because I wanted to, and I would be remiss if I did not ask the administration, the mayor first, then I'm going to come back to you. And we beat this horse, and yet it's still occurring. I'm talking about the violent crime and shootings that's going on in the city. Are we? And I know you had a couple of press conferences. You've expressed some very deep thoughts, Mayor, on some of these things. We're not at a point to where we don't think we can do anything, are we?
No, sir. We are doing some things. It's just, we've got people who are making bad decisions. And the last few crimes that we've encountered have been either domestic related or some kind of relationship with drugs. Those are the ones that and of course I read them every day. And of course we are out there working alongside of all of the other law enforcement agencies. Just know that we're out there working. We're in these communities. When we look at where the crimes are occurring, they're occurring in different parts of our community. But we are out there and we're working a plan. And sometimes it takes, it just doesn't happen overnight. But we are working the plan. And so we have not lost hope at all. In fact, for the last several ones, we've actually apprehended the people that were doing the shootings. And so we've already put them away. And we're going to continue to get those people off the streets. If you'll read those, and I don't know if you're on the press release chains. If you are on there, then you know that we're catching a bunch of these folks and we're taking them off the street.
And certainly I'm aware of some of those apprehensions, Mayor, but things keep happening. Even last night, I think there was a couple of incidences. And that's one of those instances where a lot of people opinionated and not informed
Absolutely.
as well. But I don't want anybody to think that we just going to just throw up our hands and say, it's going to happen anyway. But
No.
But I appreciate your comments, and I
Yes,
know
sir.
and I know you're not content with anything
No.
until we resolve this issue.
Absolutely.
So I'm going back to the chairman of the committee. Was there any discussion regarding this criminal shooting element that's overtaken the city?
Council Bradford, we didn't specifically, we allowed the chief to talk about the crime stats. We talked about traffic violations, citations for the past 3 years on the budget have been down. This year, we're projecting that it's going to be up for 6%. But as far as the actual shootings and violence, in particular, the Valley View Sunset Acres there, we did not discuss.
Okay.
Well, he said he couldn't discuss some of that because it was still an ongoing
I understand, but
investigation.
I'm being generic, Mr. Chairman. And Councilman Epperson, I consider you a very seasoned councilman. And the mayor's right. This criminal element is not concentrated in one area. It's all of us are being affected. Do you see, in your experiences here, do you see any legislation, being the legislative body of the city, do you see any legislative action that this council could take to do something in the area of what's going on here?
Well, I mean, if you're asking in terms of, I think that this is mostly if we can be supportive in some way of some initiative that's not going on, I think we've provided with our role of providing resources. I think we've been cooperative. We've provided substantial resources. The police department is still using those to hire and train new police
Absolutely.
officers to put on the street. Those are the kind, legislatively, with directing of resources and things like that. Could we always be talking about new potential ideas or new, suggestions, vetting things that are in the public dialogue? Sure. And I think we hear a lot of those conversations. I know certainly, constituents reach out to me with ideas they've maybe seen in other places, and I think that's something that all of us probably do on an individual level. And when we feel like that might be something, that rises to the, to be an idea worth pursuing, we may share it through different mediums, be it a proposal or through the Public Safety Committee or working with the administration or the police department directly. I think those come in different ways. But one thing, and I don't mean to belittle people's concerns in any way, but sometimes I don't quite understand. Sometimes I hear people who are very saddened and frustrated by the activities that are happened, like we all are. But legislative action might not change that, So, there are, when people make bad decisions, they've made bad decisions. They've broken a law, and there's a law already there that's been broken. So, for us as lawmakers, you can't make something illegaler. If it's illegal, it is. It's just you have to make sure that we're responding to it and that we're providing the resources necessary to enforce that. I hope I'm answering your question, but
You are.
just generally, I think that, you can always be receptive to suggestions, but, I think that largely when we're dealing with a problem that is diverse in nature, so its solution is going to be diverse. Certainly you see in my district, I have very different personalities in different areas of the district, and crime is experienced in different ways. It's often very personal. I don't see overwhelming trends that aren't being addressed. I feel like when there are trends, I see responses to those, but it's always a balancing act, I think.
Okay. As a veteran Councilman Corbin, any thoughts on some of this?
I agree with Councilman Everson. I think what we've done in the past with making sure that we've made budget amendments when necessary, and if a If a good idea comes to us either from the administration or the police department or the citizen, then I think we discuss that. I wish we could legislate culture, and we can't. And we should not fool ourselves into thinking that we can.
No.
There's a lot of things that have led to where we are, and there's going to be a lot of steps to change that. And unfortunately, it probably won't happen overnight. But when it comes down to it, I think in our discussions up here and having representatives from the police department at the podium and talking about it, when we have folks out there that have no regard for human life and will easily settle an argument with a gunshot instead of a good cuss-in or a fist fight or something like that, then that kind of gets us where we are. And I don't think there's going to be an easy overnight fix, but if we continue to support the men and women of the police department and what they're doing, and look for new ways and look for continued joint work, then I think we'll start taking some bites out of this.
And if I may,
Sure.
One of the things that we've begun doing under our Operation Stop is our police chief and his staff are actually meeting deep within these communities every week. We set up a series of 7 of those meetings just to be there to speak with the people in the neighborhoods themselves, and ask them to make sure that they alert us to any suspicious activity or any kind of criminal activity that they know is taking place, so that we can try to be more proactive. We just have to have people that will talk to us when they know that there are things happening. And if you look at the history in this city and in other cities comparable to ours, particularly with our makeup and around the country, crime spikes up and down. It just happened. It's spiked up right now. And if you go back, you will find that we had crime even worse in Shreveport years ago, but it goes up and down. And what we're doing is, and thanks to you all, you provided us with a lot of the resources in terms of funding to be able to give tools to our police officers to be able to do the job. And they're working the plan. And so this new initiative where they're going deeply into the neighborhoods, just trying to get folks to even talk to us so that we can be more proactive. It's very, very difficult to know when somebody in his car sitting with his friend shoot his friend, or when they're in their homes and they stab or shoot each other in their homes. I mean, that's just something you can't police. And we've had a lot of those lately. But let me just tell you, we're not giving up. We're going to keep pushing. We're going to keep working alongside of the other law enforcement agencies, and we're going to be working, and we're working with our churches. I can tell you many of our pastors are on board, and they're trying to help us get to some of the congregations. So, anything that, you all feel that we can do differently, we are doing some different things. Some investigations are ongoing, and I think you will see the fruits of that labor.
Yeah. Thank you, Mayor, again for your remarks, and I appreciate you understanding that regardless of what in the jungle of issues that encompasses this crime component, it is still our job and one of our fundamental jobs is to keep our people safe.
Yes, absolutely.
We can't dismiss that responsibility on. We can't be in everybody's house. We can't know when somebody's going to do something. We have to the best of our ability, protect and serve the citizens of Shreveport, Louisiana. That's our job.
It is. But it is a fact that you can't be in somebody's house without breaking they're violating their civil rights. I mean,
Well,
that's not an excuse. That's a fact.
Again, I'm like you. I have responsibilities to solve problems. Okay, there's a problem-solving technique that could be utilized to look at and identify and then look at solutions to these areas things. And I think solution areas could be more broader. And I'm not going to even get into that, but I'm just saying that there are some initiative that could be taken. I think that could at least put people on alert that there will be serious consequences on some of the things that are doing that seem to be more obvious and more public. But anyway, I'm not. But I appreciate the conversation. I got some very good feedback from the council members as well as the mayor. Thank you. My last, Mr. Chair, my last concern is there's a lady in my district who lives on Ernest B. Miller Drive. Her name is Ann Evans. And Annie Evans, like throughout the city, there's consent decree work, sewer work going on. And she called me, and I went over to her house last week, and she called me this morning, and they put down some pipes, and they put the manhole right in the middle of her front yard. And
Is that right behind Jess Clark?
right behind Jess Clark, right behind the field of Jess Clark. And Ms. Evans is so upset with that manhole being in her front yard because she feel like one day something may happen and raw sewer going to be running down her driveway, and she want that out of her yard, Mayor. Who could help her?
Well, and let me tell you,
She told me this morning, sir, I'm sorry, that she got a check from the city as though some type of payoff check. Do you know? I mean, I don't understand none of this.
No.
If I can. Just to give you a background on that, before the city does any sewer or water-related work on somebody's property, they have to enter into a legal agreement for a servitude, a right-of-way. And so this is what happened in this case. She signed a right-of-way. There is some financial compensation for the city having a permanent servitude. That's what happened. The city has been working with Ms. Evans for the last couple of weeks to try and mitigate the manhole that's in her yard, to put it in a less conspicuous area that she'll be acceptable with. So we are working with her, and we've talked. In fact, on Friday there were conversations with her and the consent decree staff.
So there's a possibility it will be moved.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, a strong possibility.
Okay.
And let me add, because we don't do payoffs.
Well, she got a check this morning.
I need to, I mean, you said something earlier about getting the facts, so I wish you would get the facts, Councilman Bradford.
Mayor, I said that she told me that she got a check. She did not get a check until today, and I don't.
Well, I didn't know about that.
I submitted to the council office her concerns when I took pictures, and I don't know who they related those to. And she said that there was no compensation. There was a conversation, but after this conversation started, she gets a check, and I'm saying that made no sense to me. So
it's just a normal process time for when somebody signs off on a right of way.
But it is a good example again of something that's very legitimate, appropriate, like the normal process, but it's not normal to a citizen that doesn't usually, I mean, as a homeowner, we're not out there offering our right-of-ways to sale to random people, I mean, so for people who are purchasing right-of-way, there's a standard timeline that they're used to doing it, but for the homeowner, it's very new. I mean, it's understandable that she may have misunderstood, I mean, I would have if it was me, and I would have the background of it.
One of the conditions is that you need a property when you found it as best you can, right?
That's just ridiculous.
If there's not a manhole in her front yard when they started, it should be a manhole when they finish. Would you agree?
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what the right of way
Well, anyway,
was acquired is.
Mr. Crawford said it's a strong possibility it would be moved. So I'm on.
Well, and I was told, let me just tell you what I was told, because I wasn't aware of a check today. Now, let me just tell you what I was told. I was told that she agreed to something being put in her yard. And I know that in the beginning, with all of the communications that we had with citizens when we started going through this process, if we messed up somebody's yard, we would restore it, or we would pay them if we needed to do something on their property. That is what we've been telling folks all the time. Now, in terms of a check this morning, I have no idea about that. I do know that I was told that she agreed. Mr. Furlong, can you come up and bring some clarity, because I really don't want the wrong information getting out of here, and I didn't know about a check this morning.
She told me she was going to return it. Mr. Madden, did she bring a check to you this morning? She did bring a check to you this morning. Okay.
Yeah, so Ms. Evans came to my office this morning. We met and discussed the whole thing.
All right.
The sewer was shifted into her yard during construction because of unforeseen conditions. There were other pipelines where we intended to put the sewer. So the servitude wasn't acquired until recently, about a month ago. And it does take time for us to process the servitudes and issue the checks. So the servitude was obtained probably about a month ago, and she did recently get the check. She did mention to me that she wanted to return the check because she just wasn't happy about the situation. I explained to her that wasn't necessary, and we talked about that a little bit.
So tell me, I mean, another 6 or 10 feet is the field. Why in her yard?
The field is to the west. The sewer runs to the east.
I mean, it seems like it's on the line, though, right?
There's a line there. It starts in her yard, and that runs to the east. Previously, there was not a manhole on that line at the end of the line, and that prevents maintenance of the line. We need a manhole on each end of the line. That's why there's a manhole there now, and there wasn't before. The sewer was closer to the street, but there was not a manhole. So now it is closer to her home with a manhole, and that manhole provides access.
In the middle of the yard. Okay, I'm going to yield again to the fact that Mr. Crawford has said that it's a possibility that it will be moved.
I met with her this morning, and we looked at it, and we're still.
You feel confident it can be moved?
It's a strong possibility.
And we're going to get to a point where she's satisfied.
Good.
Well, I've directed staff to move it if at all possible.
Thank you, ma'am.
Now, may I just tell you that?
Thank you.
Okay, now I heard Patrick Furlong said that she returned the check. Am I correct about that?
Mr. Madden
She
said.
wanted to return it.
No, she returned it to Mr. Madden. He just said she did.
I did discuss that with Ms. Evans, and she said she brought it to Mr. Madden, and he confirmed that.
She
did.
got it this morning and she returned it this morning.
I'm not sure when she received it. It was fairly recently.
Okay, well, I need to get that straight, okay? Because I didn't understand that it was, that she just got a check this morning. Okay?
I'll find out when she goes.
Thank you.
Okay. Again, it's directly in the middle of her front yard, and I think it should be moved.
Oh, yes, absolutely. I don't think she thought that they was going to do that.
No, I don't think that was part of the conversation.
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Stuck on payoffs.
Say what?
I'm just stuck on payoffs. No, Miss Tyler don't do no
straight,
payoffs. I know that.
I mean, you know.
So,
But she thought it was curious that she got a check right after this conversation started.
I just, I can save that for tomorrow, but we do have a culture, and I think we mentioned that earlier about culture and pride. As far as litter is concerned, so I would go back and say that I think some of us are still the same with some of the violent activities that's going on in Shreveport. There's a culture and a pride issue also that contribute to some of the things that's going on in the city. So I just want to add that. And if there's nothing,
Can I mention just one more quick thing? And this is just, I had the good fortune of being able to make it to the Southern Hills Neighborhood Association's mayoral forum, and wanted to say thank you to them. They did a great job in hosting that event. One thing that I heard discussed a lot that night was about the need for audits. And so I just thought I would remind everyone that we do have an internal audit department that does a great job of consistently auditing a lot of things in the city, and those are very publicly available on the city's website, on the internal audit page. There are links, there are places where you can report things that you think might need to be audited, or things that you think might be, you have concerns about or something. And then there are, the Audit and Finance Committee. Councilman Corbin chairs it. We meet regularly. I've been on that committee for some years and have reviewed hundreds of these things. And so I was a little surprised to hear that discussion as if these don't happen already. I was like, these are very regularly happening, and wanted to just thought it might be helpful to mention that they are publicly available and not too hard to find, just a few mouse clicks away. So anybody who is interested in them, that information is out there.
And if there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned.